She said, "You're overreacting, he's just my work bestie." I replied, "You're right, I should trust more." So I trusted a private investigator. She learned what real work meant when a hefty envelope of photos landed with her work bestie's actual wife. Hey, viewers, if you've caught my posts more than once, that's your cue. Hit follow and help my page grow. I post daily. I'm 38, own my house, run a small company, and always thought I had a knack for reading people. For 3 years, I was with Elise, 32. When we met, she was incredible. Sharp, witty, driven, everything you'd want. We built a life together, or so I believed. She moved into my home 18 months ago, and things felt solid, comfortable, steady. But 6 months ago, things shifted. It started with a name, Ethan. He was a senior coworker at her firm, and initially, the stories seemed innocent. Ethan loved my pitch today. Ethan and I nailed the quarterly report. I didn't think much of it. Work friends are normal. But then his name popped up more, and the context changed. It began with texts. Her phone, once left on the kitchen counter, was now glued to her hand, tilted away from me. I'd see Ethan's name flash at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday, and she'd smirk before replying. Then came the late office nights, jumping from once a month to once or twice weekly. She'd come home with a faint scent of cocktails, not desk coffee, buzzing with energy. "You wouldn't believe the chaos we handled," she'd say. "Ethan and I were putting out fires." The real change was her priorities. One Friday, I had tickets to a show by her favorite band, bought months earlier for her birthday. At 5 p.m., she called, "Babe, I'm so sorry. There's a huge issue with a key client. Ethan and I have to work all night on a new proposal. We have no choice." I heard street noise in the background, not an office. When I mentioned it, she got defensive. "I'm in a rideshare, Owen, heading back to the office from an off-site meeting. Don't you trust me?" I ate the ticket cost. She got home past midnight, apologetic, but not remorseful. The breaking point before our one and only confrontation was an inside joke. At a friend's cookout, she got a text and burst into a deep, genuine laugh. My friend's wife asked what was so funny. Elise waved it off. "Oh, just a work thing, you wouldn't get it." The way she said it, like she and this guy shared a private world I wasn't part of. That night, I decided to talk. I wasn't confrontational. I laid out the facts calmly. I said the constant texting, late nights, and private jokes were making me uneasy. It felt like she was prioritizing this coworker over us. I stayed composed. She looked at me with a mix of pity and irritation, sighing like I was a kid who didn't get it. "Owen, you're overreacting," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "He's just my work bestie. Every woman has one. It's not a big deal. It's just someone you click with at work. It makes the day easier." I stared at her. "Work bestie?" I echoed, hating the term. "I'm your partner, the one you're building a life with. You don't need a work bestie." She rolled her eyes. "This is what I'm talking about. You're insecure. It's just a playful term. You need to trust me more." In that moment, something in me turned cold and clear. The hurt was there, but it was quickly replaced by a sharp, calm focus. Arguing was pointless. She'd cast me as the jealous, paranoid boyfriend. Pushing further would just cement that role. I'd be the villain. So I changed my approach. I took a breath, softened my face into acceptance, even forced a small, regretful smile. "You know what? You're right," I said, voice steady. "I'm sorry. I'm letting my doubts get to me. I'll trust you more." Her relief was instant. She smiled, genuinely now. "Thank you, babe," she said, coming over to kiss me. "I knew you'd get it. There's nothing to worry about, I swear." I promised I'd ease up. We went to bed, and she fell asleep fast, pleased she'd managed my silly insecurities. I stayed awake for hours, not angry, but strategizing. The next morning, while she was in the shower, I was on my laptop, not seeking advice, but researching top-rated private investigation firms in our city. I found one with glowing reviews and expertise in sensitive relationship cases. I sent a discreet inquiry through their secure portal. By noon, I had a reply. I set up a phone consultation that afternoon, taking the call in my truck between work sites. I spoke to a woman named Karen, the agency's owner. Her tone was professional, straightforward. I laid out the situation plainly: the work bestie, the late nights, the shady behavior, and Elise's dismissal of my concerns. I said I didn't want guesses. I needed hard proof. I wanted to know if they were just having long dinners or if it was a full affair. "What do you plan to do with the information?" Karen asked, a standard check on my intentions. "If they're just friends, I'll apologize and accept I was wrong," I said honestly. "But if not, I need undeniable evidence for a clean break, something she can't gaslight away." She seemed satisfied. We discussed fees, and I paid a substantial retainer with my business card, not our joint account. I gave her Elise's name, photo, workplace, car details. I provided Ethan's full name, caught from a company email she'd left open. I noted their frequent late nights on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Karen said they'd start surveillance the next day. Hanging up, I felt neither sad nor angry, just in control. Elise wanted my trust. I gave it to a professional who'd uncover the truth. Update 1-2 weeks since hiring the private investigator. It's been eye-opening. Once Elise thought I'd bought her work bestie story, it was like she had a free pass. Her behavior got bolder. Late nights became more frequent. She stopped hiding her texting, smirking openly at her phone. It was like she was taunting me, sure I was back in line. Living with her during this was one of the toughest things I've done. I had to keep up a facade of normalcy. I'd ask about her day, and she'd dive into long tales about her and Ethan, the unstoppable work duo. "Ethan and I crushed it in the planning session today. We were in sync," she'd brag. I'd nod, smile, say, "That's awesome, hun," while my stomach churned. I was playing a role, and the payoff would be my freedom. Last Friday, I got the first update from Karen, the PI. She sent a password-protected email with a preliminary report and photos. My pulse raced as I opened it in my locked home office. The report was clinical: dates, times, places. Tuesday, Elise and Ethan left their office at 5:30 p.m. They didn't part ways. They got into his car and drove to an upscale downtown restaurant, not a spot for quick work talks. Karen's team had someone inside. They noted them ordering a pricey bottle of wine, sitting side by side in a booth, not opposite. The photos were blurry, taken from afar, but clear enough. I saw her hand on his leg, him whispering in her ear, making her laugh hard. They stayed 3 hours before he drove her back to her car in the office lot. Thursday was worse. They left work together again, this time to a low-lit bar across town. Karen's notes described them as highly affectionate. The photos backed it up. One showed them in a corner, his arm tight around her waist, her head on his shoulder. Another, time-stamped 10:17 p.m., captured them in a deep, passionate kiss outside the bar before getting into his car. The report dropped a bombshell, Karen flagged. Ethan wore a wedding ring. She'd checked public records. He was married, lived in a nice suburb 45 minutes away, had 2 kids. So, Elise wasn't just cheating, she was the other woman, helping a man betray his wife and children. My paranoia seemed tame now. The evidence didn't crush me, it steeled me. The cold, clear part of me took over completely. No more doubt, no more wondering if I was crazy. The truth was in front of me, undeniable. I called Karen, voice steady. "This is solid," I said. "A great start, but not enough." "What more do you need, Owen?" she asked. "She could spin this as a one-off, a drunken slip," I said, thinking aloud. "I need proof that can't be brushed off as a fluke. I need the final blow." A pause. "That level of evidence takes time and resources," Karen said cautiously. "Cost doesn't matter," I replied. "Do what it takes, and I need more. Everything about the wife. Her name, address, job if she has one. I need the full picture. Karen said, "Understood." That night, Elise came home humming. She said she and Ethan worked late again, claiming a big project breakthrough. Said her boss might give them bonuses. She looked me dead in the eye, all innocence, and I felt only pity. She didn't know her time was running out. Her whole world was a fragile lie, and I was about to topple it. She thought she was outsmarting me, but she was the only one clueless about the new game. Update 2, 3 more weeks of playing the trusting, reformed boyfriend. Grueling, but every patronizing arm pat from Elise, every lie about her whereabouts, fueled my resolve. She got so cozy in her deception, she stopped bothering to be clever. Every Tuesday and Thursday, another crisis only she and Ethan could solve. I think she started buying her own lies. This morning, the final package arrived. Karen didn't email it. Per my instructions, it came via courier to my business address. A thick, heavy manila envelope, no return address, marked personal and confidential. I took it to my private office, shut the door. My hands were steady as I opened it. Inside was a detailed report and a stack of crisp, high-resolution 8x10 photos. The quality was stunning. Karen's team was ruthlessly efficient. The report outlined a pattern. Every Thursday, like clockwork, Elise and Ethan left the office around 4 p.m. They drove to a decent hotel, not seedy, but convenient, off the highway between our city and Ethan's suburb. Then I saw the photos. The first showed them at the hotel check-in, him paying cash, her glancing around nervously. Others captured them in the hallway, him holding the key card, her hand in his back pocket. They were smiling, happy. The final photos were what I'd asked for, the clincher. Karen's team must have rented a nearby room. The shots were taken through their window before they fully closed the curtains. They were crystal clear, undeniable, leaving nothing to interpretation. They didn't just show a kiss, they exposed a full-blown affair in stark detail. It was all there. No lie, no excuse could dismiss this. I slid the photos back into the envelope. The report also had what I'd requested about Ethan's wife, Laura. She was a stay-at-home mom to their 2 young kids, a boy and girl, active in the local school board. Karen included a link to Laura's public social media. It was full of kid photos, posts about fundraisers, and happy family shots with Ethan. One, from months ago, showed him hugging her, captioned, "My rock." The plan had been forming for weeks, and I executed it with calm precision. I went to a random office supply store far from my usual spots, bought a plain 9x12 manila envelope, stamps, and white paper. Back at my office, I picked 6 damning photos, not the most explicit, as that felt too cruel to Laura, but ones that told the story. The hotel check-in, a heated kiss in the parking garage, a clear shot of them together in the room. They showed intent and affection. I placed them in the new envelope. On plain paper, I typed a brief, anonymous note. "You deserve to know what your husband does during his late office nights. These photos were taken last Thursday. No signature needed. The photos spoke. I addressed the envelope to Laura at their home address. Confirmed by Karen." I drove to a post office in another county, one I never use, and dropped it in a blue mailbox. It was done. The fuse was lit. That night, I started the next step. I emptied Elise's drawers and closet, packing her clothes, shoes, books, makeup. I was careful not to break anything. This wasn't about destruction, but a clean cut. I stacked the labeled boxes in the spare room and shut the door. For 2 days, I waited, went to work, ate dinner, watched shows. Elise carried on, oblivious, extra cheerful, chatting about weekend plans. She didn't know a bomb was ticking through the mail, aimed at her secret life. The explosion hit yesterday, Saturday afternoon. I was in the garage organizing tools when my phone started buzzing nonstop. Elise. I ignored the first call, then the second, third, fourth. Then texts flooded in, pure panic. "Call me now. We need to talk. What did you do? Owen, what did you do? That last text said it all. The package had landed. The game was up. I didn't respond. Sitting in the quiet garage, holding my phone, I felt a deep, freeing calm for the first time in months. The truth was out, not just for me, but for everyone. Final update. 4 months since I sent that envelope. The days after what I call the detonation were wild, but I managed it all from a distance, as planned. Elise's frantic calls and texts went on for hours that Saturday. When she got home late that night, I was in the living room, calmly reading a magazine. The woman who walked in was unrecognizable, pale, tear-streaked, eyes wild with fear and fury. "What did you do?" she screamed, voice breaking. I set the magazine down. "Not sure what you mean, Elise," I said, voice even. "Don't play stupid, Owen. Laura knows. She knows everything. Ethan just called me. His life's ruined. She got photos. How did she get photos?" I let the silence sit before answering. Guess someone sent them to her. Her eyes narrowed, realization hitting. You? You did this. You had us followed. "I told you I needed to trust more," I said, standing. "So I trusted a professional to uncover the truth. Turns out, my overreacting was spot on. He wasn't just a work bestie, was he?" She stared, speechless, the fight draining from her, replaced by defeat. "You've destroyed my life," she whispered. "No, Elise," I said, voice cold as ice. "You destroyed your life. You and Ethan did that when you chose to sneak around and lie. I just flipped on the light. Your stuff's in the spare room. I want you out of my house by tomorrow night." The argument that followed was weak. She cried, begged, threatened, said she had nowhere to go. I suggested calling her work bestie, but she sobbed that he wasn't answering. His wife had kicked him out, frozen their accounts, and he blamed Elise for the mess. Their fantasy collapsed the moment it was exposed. She called her parents, and her dad came the next day to pick her and her boxes up. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I didn't care. Watching her drive away from my house for the last time, I felt only relief. The aftermath was predictable. My lawyer sent her a formal notice ending our cohabitation and barring contact. A former mutual friend said the fallout at their company was huge. Laura, Ethan's wife, filed a complaint with his employer. An investigation into his inappropriate relationship with a subordinate led to his termination for violating policy. Elise, under pressure and scrutiny, quit a week later. Their personal lives were a wreck. Ethan's divorce was brutal. Laura, armed with photographic proof of infidelity, got the house, primary custody of their kids, and most of his assets. He was financially gutted. Last I heard, he was in a tiny apartment, job hunting in a new city to escape his tarnished name. Elise didn't fare better. Jobless, ditched by Ethan, who cut her off, she moved back with her parents. Her attempts to play the victim flopped. I'd quietly shared my side, with evidence, to close mutual friends. Her lies had no traction. She lost her career, her affair partner, her home, and much of her pride. She was left with the consequences of her choices. I've spent these months reclaiming my space and peace. Changed the locks, though I didn't need to. Redid the furniture. The house feels like mine again. Quiet. The cold, calculated part of me that took over has faded, but it taught me something vital. Sometimes the strongest move is to stop arguing and start acting. I didn't want revenge for pain's sake. I wanted the truth to shine. I sent a packet of facts to someone who deserved them. The fire that followed was one they built, lie by lie. I just struck the match. Watching their web of deceit burn from a safe distance has been, I'll admit, deeply and quietly satisfying.